We're back. This is Renovate and Build with Jim and Sandra, powered by Fair Trade Works.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything.
Hope you're enjoying your Saturday morning. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Renovate and Build. And the show this morning, we're focusing on how important it is to know the latest before you embark on any home or commercial project. So often we're asked to come in and rescue projects at Fair Trade Works that have gone sideways, or when the homeowner explains that the project isn't meeting up to their vision, it's often because there's been something out of date or something just wasn't right, especially with the current methodologies in construction. And despite the renovation of being new, often it still looks old, Jim. Wouldn't you say that's fair?
I'd say that's fair.
Yes, often happens. And what we find is that when we review the project, it's because, unfortunately, those either trades or contractors hadn't kept up to date with what some of the current systems were, and we have to go in and unfortunately do the whole project over again.
Right.
So whether you're working on a brand new modern design structure or a heritage restoration like we are right now with our 100-year-old Rosemary Mansion, there are still current techniques and materials that can be implemented to ensure that the product has a long life.
Absolutely. Our big mandate at Fair Trade Works is to be your construction brand for life, and to get that kind of loyalty from our clients, it takes a lot of work, right? It's not just about going in there and servicing their needs and building construction. It's about really being their advocate, their third-party advocate, through the whole process, and making sure that we are introducing smart technology, getting the right people involved, making sure that we're delivering at market value, making sure we have the right trades and contractors involved. And it's logistically challenging, especially, you mentioned the Rosemary project, which is our, flagship heritage home we're restoring right now in Vancouver. And it's just, we've got 50 or 60 men working there on a daily basis using all sorts of techniques, restoring a 100-year-old home and, filling it full of modern technology, yet restoring it to old kind of European standards inside and out, right? So it's just about having the right team involved, having such a young, dynamic staff as we do at Fair Trade Works, understanding people's needs, understanding what the construction is just doing, understanding how to work with contractors and trades to get the best results, and and just like I said at the beginning of this, just working towards being a trusted brand for life, so they understand the systems, what we do for them.
And understanding the latest client care, I guess the expectations of clients.
Yeah,
nowadays.
and that's what's lacking so much in the construction industry, especially in the residential market, is just understanding what clients need, setting expectations, being transparent, so it becomes this enjoyable process, not this complete nightmare which you see time and time again. And we ultimately, again, as third-party advocates in the construction industry, make the construction industry work for our clients and add all our client care on top of that and all the value that we bring. And we're just creating a new construction environment and having fun doing it.
Well, joining us right now, we have a guest who knows only too well about what client care means and great service, along with staying up to date with the latest. Please join us in welcoming David Lowlelin. He's the Communications Director with Century Group, and he's here this morning. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
So nice to have you join us today and talk about your new project.
Thank you.
It's very exciting, David. David, I know you've been extremely busy with the planning and new construction of the 3 Civic Plaza projects south of the Fraser River in Surrey. Can you share some of the specifics and kind of give us an overview of the project?
Sure. I think the most interesting thing about this project is it's what we're seeing. I think is a trend in our urban centers, which is that the cities and municipalities are taking a real interest in the actual urban fabric of what they want their cities to become. So the city of Surrey actually put out a request for proposals for the mayor's vision, which is to create this hub of economic and social activity at Surrey City Centre, which is where she planned to move the new Surrey City Hall, as well as the new the library. Our project, which was the winning proponent from the RFP, is the 3rd project on the Civic Plaza, hence 3 Civic Plaza.
Okay, I was going to ask about the name, actually. That's good to know.
Well, there you go. So part of the initiative that Her Worship Mayor Diane Watts put forward was that they install a district energy system for that area, which means that you'll use heat stored in water to transfer energy to the various buildings. So our building, not only does it have its own district energy system within the building that shares between the different components, which I'll talk about, it actually connects to the City of Surrey's system as well. So our project, one of the things that the mayor wanted was a hotel. Our other proponents who submitted the answer or the response to the RFP had proposed one or three, or they didn't really kind of grab onto the idea of doing an integrated project. So that's what we've put forward. It's a residential tower, the tallest south of the Fraser River. It's 52 stories, which is just under 540 feet. You'll be able to see downtown Vancouver from the top of the residential tower, so it's quite high. The hotel then on the side of it is 21 stories. It's going to have 144 suites, and it is a Marriott International Autograph Collection hotel. So it's their boutique line of kind of custom self-run hotels. So we're going to be able to run that ourselves without using the same Marriott International standards that they would use for another hotel. And then on our office podium, we actually have Kwantlen Polytechnic University purchased three floors in the podium there to house a professional development campus. So that's kind of the broad strokes.
Wow. So you've got real mixed use. Are you also going to have retail there?
There will be some retail. There's going to be a cafe, a restaurant. We're trying to do this where local meets global kind of thing. Still working that out, but the retail will then support that concept as well. So there'll be some retail on the ground plane there.
Who do you think the main demographic will be, for instance, for the residences?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think there's a lot of people who think, oh, that project. A lot of investors are coming over from this, that, and the other. We've actually found there's more owner-occupiers that have been buying on our project than what we would see with our competition. And I think what it is partly the quality. We've got a hotel-inspired millwork and finishings and 9-foot ceilings, and then we have what's called a shear wall construction, which I can talk about if you're interested about it.
Yes, tell us about that.
So I think that's part of the reason why we have a lot of owner-occupiers. They want to be at the center.
They want to live there, yeah.
They want to be able to look out the window and see what's going on in the plaza for Canada Day or whatever it is. And then being there next to SkyTrain, it's right there at Surrey Central SkyTrain station, which is half an hour from a Canucks game. Like it's that close to everything. It's a hop, skip, and a frisbee's toss from Highway 1. Like it's right there. Want to go to the States? Yeah, just drive King George Boulevard down and you're there. So that's good. So shear wall. So if you can imagine a lot of high rises, a lot of what you see is a kind of a spine rising out of the center of the building that kind of goes up. And then the floors kind of come off that spine like your rib cage, right? So they kind of wrap around that. So because of that idea, certainly it's good in Vancouver, being earthquake-ish. You want to be able to have that stability. Well, think of now a door frame and the door sitting in the door frame, and think about how stable that door frame. Remember they used to say when the earthquake,
yes, go under the door frame.
Well, that's how our building is built. We use a shear wall system. We don't have that same elevator core. So what that means is that we can put all kinds of things throughout the building that optimize, in this case, ventilation or heating systems, or because our elevator core can be smaller, we can actually have larger suites. So throughout the entire building, most of our suites are larger than the general average. So that's another reason a lot of the owner-occupiers are there in our project.
Smart construction. You mentioned the autograph collection. Can you tell us a little bit more about the uniqueness and just tell the listeners a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Marriott International has a huge portfolio of different hotels and resorts. I couldn't even begin to list them all, but autograph collection is a relatively new offering. It's only been around for, 5 years as a guess. I'm not absolutely sure. They've got about 60 properties in the collection itself, but what's unique about them is that they're all unique. Every single one of them is different. So it's in contrast to what you've seen in the past. You'd have a Hilton or what have you, and they all kind of look the same, but the autograph collection is completely different. We are part of a theme in the autograph collection. They have 5 or 6 different themes called Urban Excitement.
Exciting.
I know.
I feel like there should be a drum roll there or something.
Oh, I almost hit the desk. So within the urban excitement theme, we offer a kind of a different experience, and part of that is an open concept. So our King Suite, for example, this might seem odd, but you walk in through the washroom, and it's all open concept. And there we use like a glass wall to separate the two spaces. But the net effect is that it feels big.
Big, yeah.
We still have the 9-foot ceilings as consistent in the rest of the building, and it even has a private little washroom, like a water closet toilet. So you can close the door if you really want to, keep the world out, as it were.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's quite unique that way. And the suites are also more square in shape than oblong. So a lot of, expect these things, you've got little, almost like lots in Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
You've got this very skinny, long hallway.
Well, you can't do much with.
You can't
feel
do much with it.
cramped, right.
So ours, they're all around the edge of the building, looking with different views, but they're all more square. So there's just that room to breathe. There's room to think.
Just lots of smart planning.
Yes.
Mhm.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Renovate and Build, and we're joined by David Lowlin. He's the Communications Director for Century Group, and we're talking about the 3 Civic Plaza project in Surrey. I just wanted to ask David about the challenges that you had when you were putting up a structure. It seems like you put a lot of thought into your design here and having to meet Mayor Watts's expectations and her council. What were some of the big things that you had to face?
Well, I think whenever you do something kind of different or out of the norm, there's always some people who are going to go, "Oh, that'll never work." They're just waiting for you to make a mistake so they can say, "Hey, I told you so." I think part of our approach as Century Group, I mean, if you look at our portfolio, which I encourage all of you to do if you want to on the website, centurygroup.ca, we are the firsts in many areas. We were the first LEED certified residential building in Delta, the largest LEED certified building in the province of BC, private residential. So I think it's number 5 in all projects, or number 6. And the ones who are up there are like educational institutions and things like that. But the largest residential LEED certified building happens also to be in Surrey. It's our City Point project on Gateway SkyTrain. But I think the biggest challenge we face is the idea of mixed use. I think it's still a concept that hasn't really caught on with many people, including, fortunately with Surrey's mayor and the leadership there, they get it. They understand how mixed use is such an important piece, but the financial industry, they don't know how to fund it, and that makes sense.
We talk about this regularly.
Yeah, you've got commercial, you've got residential, you've got hospitality. They have no idea how to actually figure out the structuring around that. So our partner, which, full disclosure, RBC is part of our DNA back in the day when we had a company called Barbican, formed by RBC. We were one of the shareholders and we eventually bought it out. So we've had a relationship with RBC for a dog's years, or whatever the expression is. So RBC they flew their people out from Ontario to come and see the project. We flew them around some of our projects so they had an idea of what we did. And by the end of the meeting, they got it. They understood how to do it. So they've been excellent partners, and then they've clubbed it out, they've, what's the non-slang term? They've syndicated the financing out to a number of other partners, including a credit union, I think. So
Made it work, kind of bought into the vision.
yeah, they bought into the vision and they figured out ways to fund it. But that's probably the biggest thing, is people still, and I think there's a lot of cities out there that if they could embrace urban planning and mixed use, they would have a more vibrant micro city centers. And I think I'm not quite sure who's trying to do this stuff at Oak Ridge, but I think that's an admirable approach. So.
David, before we let you go, can you tell us when the project will be finished and how the listeners can follow your project, and just give us some so we can kind of chase after it.
Well, our construction partner is ITC, and they're doing their darndest to stay to the schedule. So as far as I understand, we're still on track for November 2016.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But that ITC group, they're phenomenal. So I expect unless there's something weird, I expect to be ready to open in early 2017. So.
Well, a fun one for you to market.
Yes, it is. And for more information, the number 3, civicplaza.ca. We're proudly Canadian, so it's always a .ca.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We've been speaking with David Lowlin. He is, of course, the Communications Director for Century Group, talking about their project in Surrey today. And as mentioned, you can check out this very diverse development at 3, that's the number 3, civicplaza.ca. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Renovate and Build today. A reminder that if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please email us, radio@fairtradeworks.biz. Next week, we promise we'll be back with more listener questions.
And thank you, as always, to our producer, Dwayne Bishop, for all his help this week on Renovate and Build.
And next week, another lineup of experts will be joining us in the studio, talking about everything from how to choose the right realtor to sell your home to smart ovens. And of course, our community feature, Neighborhood News, will be joining us. This time we'll be with the Sorachis from Dominate Construction. They're going to be talking to us about neighborhood news in Burnaby.
And stay tuned on CL 650. Tom Lucas and Sherry Brown will be here with Radio Real Estate. Have a great weekend, and thanks for listening.
Introducing a revolutionary new construction system. This is Renovate and Build with Jim and Sandra.